Paris, 1917. The streets are cold, damp, and tense. Outside the prison at Saint-Lazare, a black carriage waits in the gray morning fog. Inside the prison walls, guards escort a woman down a dim corridor. She walks with poise, chin lifted, her steps measured like a performance on stage. Her name is Margarita Gertrude Zella, but the world knows her by another, Mata Hari. Her silk robe swishes softly as she moves, though the fabric has worn thin from months of captivity. She is 41 years old but still carries the aura of a woman who once captivated kings, generals, and diplomats. The guards whisper among themselves, some convinced she is a master spy, others believing she is nothing but a scapegoat. In a few hours, a firing squad will decide the question forever. But Mata Hari's story doesn't begin with espionage. It begins decades earlier, in a small Dutch town called Leeuwarden. Born in 1876, she grew up in a comfortable household. Her father, Adam Zella, was a prosperous hat merchant who spoiled her with gifts and affection. She was his favorite. But when she was just a teenager, the family fortune collapsed. Her parents' marriage disintegrated, her mother died, her father abandoned the children, and Margarita was sent away to live with relatives.
That girl, once pampered, adored, was suddenly a burden. She longed for escape, for a life where she wouldn't be at the mercy of others. And when she saw an advertisement for young women to marry Dutch military officers serving in the colonies, she answered it. It was a chance to reinvent herself, to be someone else. She married Rudolph MacLeod, a hard-drinking officer 20 years older than her. Together they sailed to the Dutch East Indies, today's Indonesia. At first, she must have imagined it as a romantic adventure. Palm trees, exotic cultures, a new life far from the narrow streets of the Netherlands. But reality quickly soured. Rudolph was abusive, jealous, and cruel. He drank heavily, flaunted mistresses, and humiliated her in public. They had 2 children, a boy and a girl. But tragedy struck in 1899, when their son fell violently ill after a family meal. He died suddenly, amid whispers that a jealous servant had poisoned the food. The loss fractured what little remained of the marriage. The couple returned to Europe, bitter and broken. Soon after, they separated. Margarita found herself stranded in her mid-20s, penniless, with a young daughter to raise. She had beauty, yes, tall, dark-eyed, and striking. But beauty alone did not pay the bills. She tried teaching, posing as an artist model, even menial work, but nothing stuck. Paris, though, offered a stage. And in Paris, she would create Mata Hari. It began in 1905 with a performance at the Musée Guimet, an Asian art museum. Draped in silks and jewels, she danced in a style no one in Paris had seen before. It was sensual, mysterious, inspired by the Indonesian traditions she had glimpsed during her years abroad. She called herself Mata Hari, Malay for Eye of the Day, or simply the sun. Her dances were more than entertainment. They were theater, ritual, seduction. She unveiled herself piece by piece, until her jeweled bra was the only thing that kept her from total nudity. Parisian high society was stunned. Was she an artist? A courtesan? Both? It hardly mattered. She was irresistible. Soon, she became the most sought-after performer in Europe. Men of wealth and power filled her audience. Generals, politicians, bankers. She dined with them afterward, charmed them in salons, and slipped effortlessly into their private worlds. Newspapers called her exotic, dangerous, enchanting. She leaned into the mystery, carefully cultivating a persona as a woman outside of ordinary rules. But with notoriety came rumors. Mata Hari was not just a dancer, people said. She was a courtesan to Europe's elite. She became mistress to powerful men, trading her allure for wealth and protection. Some saw scandal, others saw survival. In a society where respectable women were confined to narrow roles, she had carved out her own. Then came 1914, World War I. Suddenly, Europe was divided by barbed wire and trenches, and Mata Hari's glamorous world of luxury hotels and champagne salons collapsed almost overnight. Performances dried up, borders hardened, and her relationships, with lovers in both France and Germany, turned from titillating gossip into a dangerous liability. She had lovers among French officers, lovers among German ones too, and in wartime, that raised eyebrows.
In 1916, French intelligence took notice. The war was going badly. Thousands died each day at Verdun and the Somme. French morale was crumbling. Spies were everywhere. The government was desperate for scapegoats, for someone to blame. And Mata Hari, with her German contacts and her reputation for seducing officers, seemed the perfect target.
The Germans claimed she had agreed to spy for them under the codename H21. Payments were made into her account, though historians later suggested these may have been gifts or attempts to set her up. The French, meanwhile, also tried to recruit her, hoping she could use her charms to draw secrets from German officers. Whether she accepted or not remains murky. What is clear is that she played a dangerous double game, or was trapped in one. She enjoyed the attentions of officers on both sides, believing her beauty gave her protection. But beauty is a fragile shield against suspicion. In February 1917, French police arrested her in Paris. She was accused of passing secrets that led to the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers, an accusation that, even then, was tenuous at best. The evidence against her was flimsy: intercepted telegrams, gifts of money, rumors of meetings with German officers. But in a France bleeding from war, logic mattered less than spectacle. Her trial in July 1917 was a sensation. Reporters crowded the courtroom. She arrived dressed in fine clothes, still carrying herself with poise. But the military judges were unmoved. To them, she was not a woman fighting for survival. She was a foreigner, a courtesan, and an easy scapegoat. Witness after witness painted her as a calculating seductress, a woman who weaponized her body to betray a nation. The court did not allow her a fair defense. She insisted she was not a spy, that she had never revealed meaningful secrets. But the verdict was already written: guilty, death by firing squad. On October 15, 1917, she was led to the barracks at Vincennes. Soldiers lined the yard. She refused a blindfold, choosing instead to face her executioners head-on. When the command came, rifles cracked. She fell instantly. The story could end there, with Mata Hari as a cautionary tale. The dancer who played too close to power. The courtesan who became a spy. The woman who thought her charms could shield her from war. But her legacy is far more complicated. After her death, she became a legend. Novels, films, and plays turned her into the ultimate femme fatale, the exotic seductress who traded sex for secrets. The name Mata Hari became shorthand for dangerous beauty, but reality was less clear. Some historians believe she was indeed a spy, though more reckless than effective. Others argue she was framed by both sides, caught between the ambitions of men who used her and discarded her when convenient. Margaretha Zell, Mata Hari, remains suspended between myth and truth. Was she a brilliant spy, or simply a woman who lived by her beauty, punished for daring to cross lines men believed only they could cross? What we know for certain is this: she crafted herself from ruin, became a star on her own terms, and lived with audacity in an age that punished women who did. Her downfall was as dramatic as her rise, and a century later, her name still lingers. Mysterious, seductive, tragic.